Next to be, and I'm posting a response video to this thing. In the title, I don't remember what it's called right now. Creationism versus Evolution, College Edition, Episode 1 or some crap, I guess. Whatever. Anyway, the formats for these videos are going to be as follows, so I'll just do it more regularly. If I post a response video, you'll be playing in the background, and I'll just play and pause, and we'll talk about it. So viewers can watch the video through mine in a small window of a PlayStation Vita camera, and we'll just take a moment to reflect on what's been said. Alright, so we'll start off.
Well, hello, and welcome equally to both my fellow Christians and to anyone else, including those who may happen to think I am ignorant, stupid, or crazy. Because yes, when it comes to the creation versus evolution debate, I am firmly on the side of creation. Literal, biblical, six-day creation.
Okay. I suppose it's a really good preface to this whole thing. You're a young Earth creationist. You believe that the Earth is a few thousand years old. And that the fossil record is full of shit. Because it's the only way you can support your belief. Okay. Let's continue, now that we know where you stand.
College edition why? Well, dorm room, college, I'm in it.
That's great.
I'm Caitlin, and this is something I felt like I needed to do. Whether or not it is actually episode 1 of anything continuing has yet to be seen. Also, I've never done anything like this before, so I apologize if my skills in front of a camera are lacking.
Piece of advice. Don't apologize. Just redo it. Or do it once, call it a day, and strut. Doesn't really matter.
The point of this video is there is a debate. Thing is, I'm in biology class, not a biology major, and my professor, in the middle of class a few weeks ago, he attempted to stand in front of the entire classroom of biology students and tell me that evolution is not controversial.
Attempted. Okay. Before nitpicking and really just looking like an asshole, let me make one thing clear. Your biology professor has a doctorate, so you should give a little bit of credence to what he's saying. That may be the right word or the wrong word, I don't know. But let's, for the sake of continuing, just listen to your argument.
Where's he been? The afternoon after that class period, I took the liberty of performing a little scientific experiment of my own. I walked around campus, I even went into town because I had to go anyway, and I talked to people that I had never seen before in my life. I said, do you think evolution is a controversial subject? By the way, that is all I said. I gave no indication of what side I was on.
Okay. Let me point out a direct fallacy in your observation first. It's not scientific. It's completely subjective because you don't have a control group of any kind, and you really can't, because you're doing a survey. So that's not really useful. Let's talk about, more importantly, what you're missing. The statement, there is no controversy in evolution, and is evolution a controversial subject? That's not equivalent. When someone says there's no controversy in evolution, when your professor makes a statement alluding to that idea, however he or she decides to word it, the reason they say that is because there is no evidence that thoroughly disproves evolution or harms its credibility. And if there was, we would have heard about it by now, or we will hear about it. Until such a time, we cannot just assume that it exists. We can only assume that it might exist, and if it does come along, we need to take it seriously and examine it. But as of right now, that hasn't happened. That's what he's trying to tell you. People say there's a controversy in evolution. The controversy is a social controversy. It's a political controversy. It is not scientific. And as far as biology is concerned, it therefore has no meaning. So when he says there's no controversy, that's what he's getting at. It itself is fine. However, one else thinks it is, it's different. Doesn't matter. Let's continue.
Completely with free will and not trying to tell me what they might have thought I wanted to hear.
Yeah, another point I could make. How you feel is irrelevant. Good for you for not polluting the survey by instigating people to answer one way or another. Your social demographics might cause that on its own anyway, but there's not much you can do about that. So let's just leave that as it is.
It's 27 people, and I got 26 yeses, and one I don't really know because I don't care.
You interviewed 27 people collectively through your campus and town, which you could do better than that, but let's say for the sake of argument that's enough to create some sort of a hypothesis, a conclusion of any kind of support. The only conclusion you can really reach is that the context of the question that you've posed is not the same as the context of the question that your question is attempting to discredit. Therefore useless.
Are we seeing a pattern here? I reported back the next day.
We're seeing a pattern. Nobody understands what you're trying to do.
That's what I had done. He said, "Oh no, I meant within the scientific community. Of course it's kind of controversial down here. This is the South. There are lots of Bible thumpers."
Point I just made was just described and explained already. Yeah.
Alright, that's essentially what he said. Of course, he was a little bit more tactful about it, but actually not much more tactful. Anyway.
I don't think you really need tact in that respect, because the fervor of anti-evolutionist, the fervor of young Earth creationist rhetoric in the Bible Belt is very well known. It's not news to anybody. Let's continue.
He clarified that he meant within the scientific community.
Why would you put quotes around that? Maybe you're just trying to alliterate. This is what he said. Okay. Maybe that's the wrong word to use for that. I don't know. But given the context and the tone, I would say that you are more trying to discredit those words themselves as being fake. The scientific community, however, involves many scientists who actually study this and experiment and write journals that get peer-reviewed. They win Nobel Prizes. Why would they win a Nobel Prize in something that's not true? How could they win a Nobel Prize in something that's false? Yes, it does happen, but that doesn't last for very long. And if it continuously goes positive, you know, it explains itself. I'm coming at a loss for words and ways that I can describe the ignorance of your statement. So we'll just leave that alone.
Controversial. Wow.
Okay.
Within the scientific community.
Yes.
Well, let's see about that. Let's see about that scientific community.
In 6
What
days.
is this? In 6 days, why 50 scientists choose to believe in creation.
50. Whoa, a whole 50. How many scientists do we have in the world?
50 of them.
How many of them are
That's
biologists?
something.
How many of these scientists?
Darwin's black
let's
fox.
let this roll.
The biochemical challenge to evolution. Michael J. Behe. He is a biochemist. Let's see what it says about this in 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
My experience in organizing this book is that there are a growing number of highly educated, critically thinking scientists who have serious doubts about evidence for Darwinian evolution. In this book, 50 scientists explain their reasons. The articles in this book are not exhaustive. Space and publishing deadlines did not permit me to include contributions from many other scientists.
Sounds like a cop-out.
You know what that means? It means there's more than 50.
Okay.
All the contributors have earned a doctorate from a state-recognized university in Australia, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, South Africa, or Germany. They include university professors and researchers, geologists, zoologists, biologists, botanists, physicists, chemists, mathematicians, medical researchers, and engineers.
It only takes one person in that category to add that category as a plural.
Graphic design.
Whatever.
They're smarter than me.
Right.
Way smarter than me.
Okay.
Probably smarter than you.
Okay.
It's not that I'm not smart or anything. I mean, all A's even through college, high CT score.
It's a tall order.
Relatively highish IQ.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's
don't want to say any numbers.
Says a lot.
Brag or nothing. Really, I don't. I just, have a brain.
Okay.
So.
I gotta pause this. That's not a real statement. It's phony baloney. Phony baloney! And here's why. Just because you get lots of A's doesn't make you smart. I know plenty of people who make really good grades and don't know their way around a mouse. And maybe they're just bad with computers, but there's not a fucking excuse when you know how to look at your email. Well, do I left click or right click? Did I say right click? How often do you right click? See, these are things that stupid people do. And they do this all the time. And I deal with this on a regular basis. And I try to teach them because I kind of get tired of it. Doesn't mean that they're themselves retarded. It means that they're not critically thinking. So that itself is not a basis to deny their intelligence, but at the same time, what they know isn't a facet in the opposite. It's not an argument either way, but the examples can show that they really either A, apply themselves, or B, don't apply themselves, which can prove as evidence for or against their intelligence. And in your case, again, getting all A's, having high SAT scores, really doesn't mean anything. Especially with the way that our education system works. You memorize a lot of things. Congratulations, you're going to make a lot of money because people want that, but that doesn't make you smart. Moving on.
But back to this book and the scientific community thing. That would seem to me to be pretty hard evidence that there is not a consensus, even within the scientific community. Which means you can't say that.
There's not a consensus within the Christian community about almost anything. So, should we then claim that there's a controversy about Jesus for Christians? Or for a host of other issues? Is there a controversy about gay marriage? No, absolutely not. Yes, there is. In the Christian communities. Sure. Because some Christians are gay. Some Christians are for gay marriage. And a lot of other things that really... My point is that it doesn't matter. The statement you make, again, it just doesn't prove anything. And 50 scientists. Wow, okay. I can find 50 fucking... You find 50 people that agree or disagree on anything. Even as contradiction to the status quo. And the status quo of the scientific community supports evolution. So, maybe you've got some rebels who say, oh, no, but, you should only support them as much as they can support themselves, which isn't very much.
It is controversial. After all, if it weren't controversial, would people spend hours and hours arguing with me on YouTube? Really?
Still missing the point.
Would my professor be so adamant about trying to correct me and make me look bad,
point.
Even in front of the classroom, if there was actually no controversy about evolution?
Okay.
And just to clarify, you can try that tactic all you want. I don't care. I'm standing up for something I believe in, that I know to be true.
That's what the South said about slaves and their independence and their secession from the Union. Do you support that? Do you think that they should have been allowed to keep slaves as long as they felt that it was right? Do you think that anybody who supports anything that is in fact harmful but uses their own religious belief to perpetuate their dogma is justified in doing so, regardless of the effects that they have? You might say, well, what kind of effect does this have, my belief? I'll tell you what. It has the effect of fucking up the curriculum for our students in these areas, because now they're being misled. That's bad, and it's wrong, and we have a duty to these kids to tell them the truth. And the truth is, there is no scientific controversy about evolution. There's political and social controversy, there's religious controversy, but none of that matters in science. Well, son of a bitch.
Look bad.
Okay.
Fun part is, I can even stop him. We were talking about plant evolution. He's like, oh, the dinosaurs did not have grass. Very recent evolutionary step. I'm like, how do the scientists think they know that? He said, well, it's found in higher layers. It's found above the dinosaurs. We know, so we know the dinosaurs didn't have grass. Uh-huh. You don't think those layers could have been formed all at once in a big flood and the grass is higher because it's lighter?
Right.
You just stared at me.
Fit all those animals in the ark.
Apparently you'd never heard that one before.
That must be it.
All he could say was, you should bring that up in a geology class.
You should.
Yeah.
They'll
Well,
shut
that's
you
not
down
biology, but if you
for
believe
being
evolution so
retarded.
much, you should be able to defend it.
He doesn't need to.
Uniform. Seriously. Look up the research on flood geology. Global flood, Noah's flood. You people know what I'm talking about. Everybody heard the story as a kid, whether you went to church or not. Really, everything that we see on Earth today, all of the geologic forms, the strata, it all makes much more sense in the context of a global flood than anything else. Trees, fossilized trees and giant reeds standing up between many, 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 many layers. There are pictures. Google it. It's not that hard. Other polystrata fossils. The fact that there are no erosion marks or fossilized soils between all of those layers, you'd think over a few million years there would be some soil or some erosion. After all, there was rain. It's how people think the life began. Rain on the rocks for millions of years. Chemicals in the oceans. Blah, blah, blah. What? Yeah, no.
Just like that.
Really? Everyone, they think we came from a rock.
Yes.
4.6 billion years ago.
That's right. We came from a rock.
How smart is that? Don't even get me started on abiogenesis, which is not possible.
Uh-huh. How's
The
that?
point is, there is controversy over evolution in our schools, evolution in our textbooks, arguments between scientists. There are journals on both sides. There are conventions. Evolution online, YouTube.
It's a Star
All of
Trek
you that are watching
convention.
this
Is
right
Star
now,
Trek
you
real?
have no doubt that there is
No,
a
it's
controversy.
fiction.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this video, or would you?
Yes, I would.
Anyway, I guess that's enough for one night. I must thank my inspiration. So many great people out there doing great things, great ministries, great research, the likes of Ian Juby with Genesis Week. He's on YouTube here, Wazulu. And I definitely must commend him for his skill at walking and recording himself at the same time in his rants. I can't do that, I would fall over. Look him up, great stuff. He knows a whole lot more than I do. So do many others, like Creation Science Evangelism. They're at creationtoday.org. So many others. Just look them up. Like I said, they know much more than I do. Go for it. Anyway, thank you and good night.
Okay. Here's a synopsis. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She takes her entire position based on her religious beliefs, and she chooses not to support them with real evidence of any kind, and she would rather instead have a religious debate and waste the time of the biology professor, who then tells her this is a perfect opportunity to take a geology class. This is the sort of thing you should bring up in a geology class. Yeah, absolutely, sure. Not biology. I mean, you want to talk about you can make a quick note about it and then write it down and maybe ask him about it later, but go to a geologist. Ask them about that. Not everyone's going to agree, but I guarantee you that most of them will. And you can look at the evidence yourself and you can test it yourself. and you'll see. They know what they're talking about. Bitch is crazy. End.